Verzeihen Sie mir, ich kann Deutsch sprechen, aber es ist vielleicht besser, wenn ich Englisch rede. Es ist schon Jahre, seit ich Deutsch geübt habe. All right. So let's talk about the future of advertising. If you're a marketer or advertiser, the future of advertising, not advertising, being not advertising, can be a little concerning. How many here, by a show of hands, consider themselves an advertiser or in the marketing field? I imagine being online marketing rock stars, you're all going to raise your hands. So let me just explain this a little bit, because whether English is your first or second language, this can be a little confusing. So what I'm not saying is the future of advertising is not advertising. Instead, what I'm saying is the future of advertising is not advertising. Does that help? So let me just give you a different example here. Advertising isn't what your customers are interested in. What they are interested in is not advertising. So I'm going to share with you today how not advertising as a channel can drive more than 25% of your online sales. Now, before I get into the not advertising part of this presentation, let's talk about advertising, because I know we all know it very well. I have to keep reminding myself, because we've been talking about millennials for so long and using them as an example in one way or another, that they're not teenagers anymore. As a matter of fact, millennials are between 26 and 41, which I imagine is a large part of this crowd. And your entire life spent online, you've been bombarded with advertising. And when surveyed, 84% of millennials don't trust ads. And you have to know in your heart of hearts that we're not all excited about your next ad campaign and can't wait to see it in our feed, right? But this isn't anything new. The first banner ad appeared on the internet in 1994. And it only took 2 years for someone to build an ad blocker. And today, it's estimated that 25% of internet users have installed an ad blocker. And if we're advertising, that means there's 25% of our addressable market that we cannot reach with an ad. Now, big tech isn't making our lives any easier. Apple's taken away IDFA, they've taken away third-party cookies, and Google is on track to do the same thing. This is shrinking our addressable market and the effectiveness of that advertising. And even if consumers aren't avoiding our ads, this is not helping. When you look at kind of the sentiment out there when it comes to advertising, taking millennials and everyone into account, trust in advertising is at an all-time low. We've been chasing people around on the internet, reminding them that they visited our site and that they should come back and shop. Privacy concerns, et cetera, have really, really reduced the amount of trust in both online ads and even more so with social media ads. Basically, your advertising is losing its power because consumers are becoming more in control. And they value their privacy. And they're kind of creeped out by some of the ads that have been chasing them around. Now, of course, advertising costs aren't getting any cheaper. These are the increases just in the last year. And I'm sure we all think about it, there were increases the year before that and the year before that. And so you have to kind of ask yourself, why am I spending so much money chasing people around the internet aren't interested in my ads, or at least don't trust them? Well, we kind of have to think about, what do consumers want? What do they care about? And possibly, what do they trust? So if they're not listening to you, what are they listening to? 88% of internet users trust recommendations from people they know. Friends, family, colleagues, neighbors. So if people are willing to trust other people, why aren't they trusting you, right? Because if I recommend to somebody a certain camera that they should buy because I'm an amateur photographer, they trust my opinion. They trust that I know them, and it's something that I can recommend. And I can even recommend where to buy it. It's a simple interaction with people that you trust. Advertising is more complex, right? We don't have as much say or time to engage people like word of mouth does. The second thing they trust is their own research. There is so much information out from websites they read, social influencers they follow, and this has really empowered consumers. No longer are they just seeing ads and responding to them. They're deciding to do research. And there's plenty of it out there. And the more they become empowered, we are losing our influence over them to convince them to buy our products or services. And it's never been easier to find this expertise online. A recent survey in Germany and 4 other European countries, which will remain nameless, admitted, 30% admitted to buying something that an influencer recommended. Now, I think that number's higher. I think some people are ashamed to admit that they bought something that an influencer recommended. But again, people are responding, and I think this number's only going to get bigger. So put yourself in the customer's shoes for a minute. Let's say we all want to go out and buy an e-bike. How's that process happen? We probably got exposed to it by a friend or family or member or a neighbor, right? Hey, you've got an e-bike. That's cool. Can I try it? These are interesting. I'm interested in getting one. Next, we're going to go online to our favorite search engine, and we're going to type in, what's the best e-bike I should get? The top of those search results, we're going to see companies that want me to click and spend 5,000 euros on an e-bike. But when I can find, most likely in the organic search results, Chip 365 that has an in-depth review of e-bikes. What are the brands I should consider? What are the style of bikes? What kind of motors and batteries and all the other things that I'm not really familiar with yet, so that I can make a more informed decision. Clicking on an ad and adding to cart a $5,000 or euro bicycle is not something most people will instinctively do. They want to become more informed. And once someone's read this information, it's highly unlikely that an ad is going to now change their opinion. And so this really all comes down to trust. As brands, we need to create partnerships online with the sites and the influencers that our customers or consumers already trust. So if you think about it, as a brand, I partner with Chip 365. I send them a bike, they review it along with other bikes, and it becomes highly recommended. Now, as a customer, you trust Chip 365. They've given you great advice in the past. This is a very thorough interview. And now when they click on the top-rated e-bike, which I'm selling, that trust that that consumer has in that publisher site, that partner of mine as an advertiser, gets transferred to me. They trust Chip 365 to recommend the right brand to sell them that bike. The exciting thing about partnerships is that there are a lot more options to build this kind of trust network on the internet. It's different for every brand. B2B brands differ from retailers, from financial sites. But the idea here is that you can mix and match. You can grow different types of partnerships over time. I kind of look at this partnership ecosystem as kind of organically starting out of affiliate. Affiliate has historically had lots of different business models within it, but it's grown to leveraging ambassadors, people who are your best customers, your best users, who do how-to guides for software, who do great reviews and recommendations, right? They're your biggest customers, or they're people who use your products and services to make a living. Charities, being able to align your brand with something that your consumers care about as well, maybe allowing them to give a charitable contribution to a cause, we're suddenly more like each other than apart, right? Mobile apps are really interesting. We all think about developing our own mobile apps, but sometimes we can be integrated into other mobile apps where we reduce the friction for the consumer to interact with our products and services. And I'll give you a great example in a minute. We'll talk also more about these premium publishers that are doing content commerce. We know about social influencers. Sponsorships are similar to charities, aligning with sponsoring creative people, a YouTube channel, something that maybe is in your space, but you really believe in their content and you want to support them. And again, as a viewer or consumer of that information, we're more aligned. And lastly, and probably most importantly, are these B2B partnerships. What's great about them is it's two businesses coming together kind of in a co-opetition where both brands benefit from this partnership, and typically the consumer benefits as well. The proverbial 1 + 1 = 3. And it's really something that, when leveraged correctly, gives you a competitive advantage. Unlike buying media or working with a cashback or coupon affiliate, it's highly competitive. These B2B partnerships, you could be the only other brand working with them, outsmarting your competitor. Now, here's an example of content commerce. There's a kind of a wave going on right now of people looking for non-toxic cookware. So most people have been using Teflon as non-stick or cookware, and that's poisonous. Go figure, right? So we've been cooking with things that poison us. So people are looking for non-toxic cookware pots and pans. And when you type in non-toxic pan, the first ad is Caraway, of course, advertiser, buying paid search. The second is one of their competitors. But that first organic search result is the Food Network, a great content site if you're Caraway, especially if they write an in-depth article about the best non-toxic cookware. And coincidentally, the #1 product they recommend is Caraway. Now think about this. Google has changed their algorithms. They want advertisers to pay for ads. In the past, you could have a whole blog on the health benefits of non-toxic cookware and write a lot of this content yourself, and Google would see that and give you organic rankings in addition to your paid search. Today, they've changed those algorithms because they know what customers really want are these types of websites. They always outrank brands now in the organic search results. Now, I'm going to use one of these extreme examples just to illustrate how powerful these types of partnerships can be. There is a website in the United States owned by the New York Times called The Wirecutter, and a very large global retailer engaged with them over an entire year to develop content, review their services. And they saw in their total online revenues a 500% increase. Now again, this is extreme and it's not applicable to everyone, and we all wish we could get 500%. growth from just one partnership. But just think if you had a partnership that just drove 5 or 10% increase in revenues. This content is extremely valuable on the internet because consumers love it. Brands with content commerce partnerships are reporting improved customer acquisition, revenue growth, and greater trust with their consumers. All because they partnered with what their customers are searching for. The consumer is not asking for more advertising. If advertising went away today, I don't think they'd notice it, and they for sure would not miss it. But if content commerce, these reviews and recommendation sites, listicles, if all of that disappeared, they would definitely notice it. And the interesting thing is, instead of intruding into the lives of our customers with ads, we're really helping customers discover new products and services on their own terms, at the moment they're most receptive. They work with your customers' purchasing habits rather than against them. You know, we look at programmatic where we're targeting somebody, because they've got to be the most interested, this impression, this person is the most interested. But this content is like a moth to flame. Nobody goes to read the best e-bike reviews because they don't want to buy an e-bike. I'll give you another great example. More and more of these forward-seeking companies tap into partnerships to connect with customers in very, very creative ways. We've seen brands working with relevant trade organizations to offer discounts to members, turning customers into brand ambassadors, as I already talked about, and even finding ways to integrate their own products into other services in this kind of B2B co-opetition. And these successful partnerships touch customers at every point of the consumer journey. Canva, an online drag-and-drop design tool, worked with over 9,000 partners globally to create awareness and intent for their product. And once they started rolling this out, they saw their revenues from their partnership channel begin to double month over month over month over month. It sounds easy, but it's not, and I'll get to that in a minute. Now, before I came on stage, I needed to get pumped up. Listen to me some David Hasselhoff on Spotify. And, while listening to him, I see that within the Spotify app, it shows that he's on tour in Germany. So I quickly rebooked my travel, extended it by 1 day, and got myself a ticket, and now I'm checking that off my bucket list to see David Hasselhoff in concert. All because Ticketmaster and Spotify created a partnership where Ticketmaster provides a feed of all of the bands on tour, their tour dates and cities, and links where you can easily buy a ticket. And if you're a Spotify user or even any of the other streaming services that they've done this with, that's not advertising to you. It seems normal. Like, I'm just listening to my favorite band and I see they're on tour. I definitely want to see if they're playing near me, and I definitely want to be able to easily buy a ticket. This doesn't seem like advertising because it's not advertising. So this pre-pandemic drove over 32% increase in sales for Spotify with these integrations. And now's the perfect time to get started. This is like farming. Whatever we plant today, we're not eating tomorrow. This is not a coin-operated machine where we would put in €1 today and get €2 out. And it's the same with partnerships. Publishers build trust with their audience by establishing predictable, great content that they trust. Research by Forrester showed that high-maturity partnership programs are driving, on average, 28% of their online revenues. Compare that to paid search, an average of 21%. Advertising will never go away, but when we peer into the future, we see continued higher costs, lower trust, and diminishing returns. I mean, I don't want to sound negative, but it doesn't seem super bright, and I think we need an alternative. We need something else in addition to advertising. But to be honest, your customers never asked for advertising in the first place. Partnerships hold the key to reaching and attracting high-value customers now and into the future. Thanks.